Right now, somewhere in your pocket, your phone is buzzing. You haven't even looked yet, but some part of you already knows you're going to check it. Why? The obvious answer is that you're addicted to notifications. Apps are designed to be sticky. Algorithms know exactly how to pull you back in. But the real answer is far stranger. You're not fighting a notification. You're fighting a survival system that's been running in your brain for hundreds of thousands of years. And it has almost nothing to do with phones. Picture an early human standing at the edge of a forest, maybe 200,000 years ago. A twig snaps somewhere behind the tree line. There's no time to think it over. There's no luxury of waiting to see what happens. The brain has to decide instantly whether that sound means food, danger, or nothing at all. Get it wrong in one direction, and you waste a little energy turning around for nothing. Get it wrong in the other direction, and you don't get a second chance. This is the beginning of what researchers now call orienting response. It's an automatic shift of attention toward anything new, sudden, or unexplained in your environment. You don't choose it. It happens before you're even aware you're paying attention. The psychologist Daniel Berlyne studied this back in the 1950s and 60s, and he found something curious. Curiosity itself behaves like a kind of hunger. Uncertainty isn't just uncomfortable, it's almost unbearable. Your brain doesn't like open loops, it wants them closed. Now fast forward 200,000 years. The twig snap is gone, the forest is gone, but the system underneath is exactly the same. Your phone buzzes. That buzz is a modern twig snap. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a possible predator and a possible text message. It just knows something happened, and the not knowing has to end. This is where it gets interesting. In 2014, a team of researchers led by Ramesh Sitaraman at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst studied online attention spans across hundreds of millions of video views. They found that people abandon a video the very moment it fails to immediately reward their attention. Within the first 2 seconds, viewers are already deciding whether to stay. 2 seconds. That's not a modern attention problem. That's an ancient threat detection system just running on the wrong kind of input. Here's the twist nobody tells you. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. For most of human history, paying intense attention to sudden change was the difference between living and dying. A rustle in the grass, a shift in wind, a change in someone's tone of voice across the fire. Missing these signals could mean missing a predator, a storm, or a betrayal. Noticing them, instantly and without thinking, kept you alive long enough to have children who inherited the exact same jumpy, twitchy, hyper-alert nervous system. You are descended from the ones who flinched. Calm, unbothered humans who shrugged off every strange sound in the dark didn't tend to survive long enough to pass that calmness on. Evolution doesn't reward peace of mind. It rewards staying alive. And staying alive for almost the entirety of human history meant treating uncertainty as an emergency. So when your phone buzzes, you're not weak. You're not lacking discipline. You are doing exactly what kept your ancestors breathing. But there's a second piece to this puzzle, and it's even stranger than the first. It's not just that your brain notices the buzz. It's that not knowing what the buzz means feels almost unbearable until you check. In the 1990s, psychologist George Loewenstein at Carnegie Mellon proposed what's now called the information gap theory of curiosity. The idea is simple but unsettling. The moment you become aware that you're missing a piece of information, your brain treats that gap like a kind of itch. Not knowing creates tension, and tension demands resolution. Think about how a notification is built. You don't see the message. You see a number, a red circle, a hint that something exists without telling you what it is. That's not an accident. That's information gap theory, built directly into software. Who texted you? What did they say? Was it good news or bad news? You don't know. And your brain treats not knowing as something that has to be fixed immediately. This is also why a locked phone feels almost magnetic. The notification on the screen is a closed loop wearing the costume of an open one. Your ancient brain reads it the same way it would read movement at the edge of a clearing. Something changed. Investigate now. Ask questions never. Here's where the story gets a little darker and a lot more revealing. In the 1950s and 60s, psychologist B.F. Skinner ran a series of experiments with pigeons and a lever. When the lever produced food every single time, the pigeons pressed it calmly, almost lazily, whenever they were hungry. But when the lever produced food only sometimes, unpredictably, the pigeons pressed it obsessively, over and over, far more than when the reward was guaranteed. This is called a variable reward schedule, and it remains one of the most replicated findings in behavioral psychology. Unpredictable rewards create far more repetitive checking behavior than predictable ones. Now think about your phone again. Sometimes you check it and there's nothing. Sometimes there's a message that changes your whole day. You never know which one it'll be. And that unpredictability isn't an accident either. It's the exact same lever. You are the pigeon, and the notification feed is the food pellet that sometimes appears and sometimes doesn't. This is the modern mirror. The forest is gone, but the nervous system inside you was never updated for the world you actually live in. Your ancestors checked the tree line because survival depended on it. You check your phone because your brain still believes survival depends on it, even though, almost every single time, nothing is actually at stake. And there's something else, something that makes this even more personal. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has spent decades studying social bonding in humans and other primates, and one of his core findings is that humans evolved in small, tightly knit groups, somewhere around 150 people at most, where knowing what was happening socially wasn't a luxury. It was survival information. Who was angry with whom? Who might exclude you? Who might protect you? Missing social information in a group that small and that interdependent could mean the difference between belonging and being left behind. Your phone doesn't just trigger threat detection, it triggers social threat detection. A notification isn't just an unknown sound in the forest, it's an unknown shift in your tribe. And for 200,000 years, missing a shift in your tribe was not a small thing. So when you feel that pull to check, even when you know there's nothing urgent, even when you've already checked 4 times in the last 10 minutes, understand what's actually happening underneath. It's not weakness. It's not a character flaw. It's hundreds of thousands of years of finely tuned survival instinct reacting to a piece of glass and metal as if it were a sound in the dark. There's a reason this feels so personal, almost shameful, even though it's universal. You tell yourself you should be able to control it. You put the phone in another room. You turn off notifications. And for a while, it works. Then a strange thing happens. You start checking even without a buzz. You reach for the phone out of habit, out of nothing, out of the simple fact that it's there. This isn't a separate problem. It's the same system, just running one step ahead of the trigger. Psychologists call this anticipatory checking, and it shows up in almost every study on habitual phone use. The brain doesn't wait for the twig to snap anymore. It starts scanning the tree line on its own just in case. Your ancestors didn't get the luxury of waiting for danger to announce itself either. The ones who scanned constantly, who checked the horizon without being told to, were often the ones who saw the threat first. Researchers studying digital behavior have found that the average person unlocks their phone dozens of times a day, often without any external prompt at all. No buzz, no banner, just the hand moving toward the pocket on its own. That's not addiction in the simple sense people mean when they use the word casually. That's a vigilance system with nothing left to watch for, so it watches anyway. There's also a piece of this that has nothing to do with threat and everything to do with connection. For nearly your entire evolutionary history, the people around you were the difference between life and death. Not metaphorically, literally. A human alone on the savannah 200,000 years ago, without a group, without allies, without anyone to share food or warn of danger, did not last long. Group membership wasn't a preference. It was infrastructure. It was the thing that kept you fed, warned, and alive long enough to raise children of your own. This is why isolation, even brief isolation, can feel disproportionately distressing. Your nervous system doesn't read no messages today as a neutral fact. Somewhere underneath, it reads it as a question. Has something gone wrong? Has the group moved on without you? Are you still included? And this is why a single message, even a meaningless one, even just a friend confirming dinner plans, can produce a small flood of relief. You weren't just curious about the content. You were checking your place in the tribe. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. None of the people who designed your favorite apps had to invent this craving. They only had to find it. It was already there, fully formed, waiting in the architecture of your brain. The red notification dot, the auto-refreshing feed, the infinite scroll that never tells you when it's about to end. Every one of these features is a deliberate echo of an ancient signal. Uncertainty, unfinished business, a possible shift in the tribe. None of it is new. It's just been repackaged, miniaturized, and placed in your pocket where it can reach you every few minutes of every single day. Consider what this means for something as simple as putting your phone down at dinner. It's not just a matter of etiquette or focus. You are, in that moment, deliberately overriding a survival instinct that has been refined across thousands of generations. It should feel hard. It should feel like resistance. That's not a sign that something is wrong with you. That's a sign the system is working exactly the way evolution built it to work, just aimed at the wrong target. There is, however, a strange kind of comfort buried in all of this. If the urge to check your phone is ancient, then it isn't a personal failing unique to you, your generation, or your particular relationship with technology. It is a universal human inheritance, sitting quietly in everyone who has ever lived since long before screens existed. The grandmother who never owned a smartphone still startled at sudden sounds. The hunter-gatherer who never saw a notification still felt that same restless itch when something around him changed without explanation. You are not uniquely undisciplined. You are simply the latest person to inherit a very old alarm system, now ringing in a world it was never built to understand. Understanding where the pull comes from doesn't switch it off, but it does something almost as useful. It changes the story you tell yourself about why you keep checking. Not weakness, not failure. Just a deeply old, deeply human system doing exactly what it has always done, in a world that finally learned how to trigger it on command. The twig snap never stopped being a twig snap. We just built a machine that can make that sound infinitely, on demand, every few minutes, all day long. Knowing this doesn't make the pull disappear, but it changes what you're fighting. You're not battling a lack of willpower. You're negotiating with a survival system that has no idea it's the year it actually is. So tonight, when your phone buzzes on the nightstand and some old deep part of you sits up and pays attention, remember what it actually thinks is happening. It's not checking a notification. As far as it's concerned, it's listening for a twig snap in the dark, just like it has for 200,000 years, just like it always will, until something teaches it otherwise.